We live in such a damn complicated world that it's nice once in a while to have control of the whole process. I think I like it because it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the most responsive material that you can come in contact with. I mean, you can cut wood or chop granite, but it's nothing like this. I mean, in 5 minutes, I can complete an idea, you know. Another thing, there is something about the wheel that's almost hypnotic. You get started and you just simply cannot stop. I think it's always a little bit compulsive, because if I didn't work, I wouldn't have any ideas, you know. So, and if I seem to be drawing a blank right now, I know if I quit, I'll, you know, I'm not building up anything inside of myself, and so I have to keep on working, although it might be a disappointment to me at that time, but I think that eventually it would lead to something. I didn't think that I had the kind of discipline in myself that would allow me to go on by myself in a business way. And I went back to Alfred for a year, and I had always been a great admirer of Dr. Harder, the chairman of the department, and he started talking to me seriously about teaching. And he said that there was going to be a big interest in colleges setting up ceramic departments. Well, it's true, it did happen. And I was very lucky. I was right in on the very beginning of that, and went to Michigan State, and after 2 or 3 years, I liked it enough so that I thought that I would like to stay there. I think we moved the third year I was there. We moved out of the Union Building into one of those big chicken houses that they built over on the South Campus. They were old Army barracks or something. And we were there for several years, and then one of the teachers was George Wexler was his name. He was he really was a layout artist, amongst other things. And when Kresge said he was going to put up money, I think $1 million or $1.5 million, I guess, to some deserving department, George went ahead on his own and he presented this booklet. And Kresge was very impressed with it, and he gave the money to the art department. I'm sure they wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. I mean, art was, and I guess it still is, a low man on the totem pole, you know. Well, you know, in pottery, there are a lot of physical things that have to be really taught. You have to teach them how to center and how to lift up a cylinder and how to wedge and how to apply glazes and things. And once you get those out of the way, I think the most challenging thing is to try to get them to do good pots. And I don't know how you do it. The last 20 years that I taught, the only thing I taught was graduate students, and so that first part was gone. But somehow, you know, that first part wasn't so bad. It's really kind of fun to get people interested in this material. I think the thing that makes me happy is that these a lot of the students that continued with this have been proven themselves to be successful. There's quite a few of them that even live right in this area, that have made this their living, and a pretty good one too. Mark Chatterley was doing some work in one of the kill rooms, and it was about 9:30 at night. And he had been doing some raku work. Well, we had big old exhaust fans overhead, and they were running, so the smoke didn't matter. But he got done, and he wanted to leave, and I said, well, Mark, you can't leave those fans going all night. You'll have to get rid of the sawdust. Well, he took the sawdust outside, and there was a big dumpster out there. He had this in a great big garbage pail, and there was a dumpster out there. And he dumped it in the dumpster, but unfortunately, the shop and school had decided to get rid of all their paints that day, and they had dumped their paints into this dumpster. And there were cans of paint and those little squirt cans and all this stuff. And Mark came in and he said, Mr. Raynor, I don't know what to do. And I went out and looked, and these things were shooting up in the air. There were flames going in every direction. And my son was a fireman, and I knew he was on duty, and he was on the campus there. And I said, well, Mark, you give me 10 minutes to get out of here and get home, and then you call the police. Call the fire department. Well, the police came too. And then about an hour later, my son called me up, and he said, Dad, what the devil was in that big dumpster out there? I said, we couldn't get it to go out. I remember after shortly after the atomic bomb thing, and I got out of the service. We got out quite soon after that. I started doing a whole series of pots that were very pushed out. I'd throw a big tube and then just bang the heck out of it. And I suppose it had something to do with the concern about these things, because it's one of the few times in my life that I ever started making pots that weren't useful. They really had no use at all. Some of them didn't even have an opening in the top of them. My principal interest has been in making stuff that people use, like these big platters that are on the table now that I'm going to glaze tomorrow. I make those for 2 or 3 of my friends. A couple of them are fishermen, and one of them is a bird hunter. And it seems that they're a kind of an object of celebration. A big dinner comes off, and it's nice to present it on something that's fairly elaborate, I think. My direction has always been towards a useful object. But I don't discourage people that want to do things that are just going to be there. There's a place in the world for all of us, I guess. I have a couple of friends who are sculptors, and I've always been very suspicious of their philosophies, because it seemed to me that the philosophy came after the work did. And I know I just got a catalog from a friend of mine and who's having a show, and he talks about he's not making pots, he's enclosing mysterious spaces, and you get into some of this, and it's I think pretty esoteric. I've kind of avoided thinking too much about myself.
Sure, you were, huh?
Yeah. I always admired Karen Carnes and the work that she did. but I can't think of any particular person. Maybe I just withdrew into myself more than anything else, but then along towards, 15 to 20 years ago, I began to feel very alienated. I didn't like what was going on. I didn't even really understand why some of them were doing what they did. Bob Turner, for one, and well, Vocus. I understand that you want to express yourself, but it's always been very upsetting to me to think that I should tear my pots all to pieces and get them to a point where they're not worth a single thing just to express myself. I don't need to express myself that way. Through Clay, I became friends with several musicians who were collectors of my stuff, and I learned a great deal about music, something that I knew absolutely nothing about. And also, several of my friends that I had come in contact with were painters. I learned a lot about painting. It's taught me to be patient, I'll tell you. And it's taught me that it's not too bad to fail. You've got another chance, and God knows I've failed enough times with this stuff. When I lived in Okemos, my road was paved with the broken pots. I would smash them up and put them out in the gravel. I think of all of the experiences that I've had, just being with young people is probably the best one. You're completely revitalized from, almost every day is different. Every day is a different kind of challenge. And yeah, I would have to say it's the people that I have enjoyed most. And one of the nice things about Clay, I think, is that most potters are very friendly, and they're perfectly willing to exchange ideas with you or give you ideas without hesitation. It's like, what's his name said, I can't remember his name. He said, sex is wonderful, but sweet corn is better. And it is, it's a wonderful feeling to have something go right and to be pleased with it, and to have it go easy as it flows out. It's a wonderful feeling.